Welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Julia Janae. Thank you so much for being with us this afternoon. Here's a look at what we're following together. We're bringing you testimony in the burn pile murder trial for Melody Farris in Georgia. Prosecutors say she shot and killed her husband, Gary, and then burned his body on a fire pit on their property. The murder weapon has never been found. The defense attorney claims that it could be the couple's son, Scott, because he was the only one with bullets that fit the alleged murder weapon, a .38 caliber gun. Scott Farris is on the stand today for a second day of testimony. He's the one who found his father's remains on that burn pile July 5th of 2018 and called 911. So let's get you back into court now. We're picking it up right where we left off with the arguments outside the presence of the jury.
All those questions. He doesn't have to then bootstrap it to a polygraph and talking about failed. He did pass on lots of those questions too, and he doesn't want that in. Because he opens the door with that, there is an answer that he does not want in this trial of the polygraph.
Well, again, so you can ask all those questions, and only if he answers something different would the interview be relevant to those questions. If you want to ask him, was he interviewed for 4.5 hours by the GBI? I think that's fair. If you want to say, and didn't you abruptly end the interview?
That's
sure.
fair.
And then y'all can argue about what that means and why or whatever. But again, I think,
I think
we don't
fair.
need to go there. It's not rehashing, and the interview itself is not otherwise admissible.
And I do stipulate to the admissibility of that polygraph, by the way.
Well, they're not going to agree. So,
Judge, I just need to recess to talk to our witness. This is
we will bring the witness in a second and give him some direction if y'all need to talk to him specifically. But
we do, Judge.
all right,
100%.
Let's again. What else are you going to want to go into in this topic? Because there's no reason for you to talk about specific details of the interview that are hearsay until they're otherwise admissible. So what else about the interview are you going to want to ask him?
That's essentially it, Judge.
Okay, well then, all right.
And Judge, there may be a point.
If we have to object and take it up, I get it.
I know. And if he opens the door to the other answers that we want in, then we're going to have to take this up again outside the president's jury. Because there are answers we'd like in too.
We'll stipulate to the admissibility of the polygraph right now.
That's not how it works. We didn't stipulate to it.
I know, but I will. Judge, I understand my instructions.
All right. Just need a recess. Judge.
Okay, so I'll talk to your witness and then I'll give him some direction when he comes in.
All right, they can talk about the interview some, but cannot talk about the polygraph test is what I'm taking from this ruling. Let's get some analysis from our guest who is standing by, trial attorney Marjorie Mesidor. Marjorie, what do you think about this witness on the stand, the judge making sure that polygraph is not mentioned because apparently he failed it?
Polygraph tests, by and large, are largely inadmissible in court because of their unreliability, frankly, and the ability to beat a polygraph and to easily fail it regardless of what is actually the truth. So the court's ruling on this subject matter is correct in trying to protect the integrity of the process so that the jury can decide who is telling the truth and who is not. The insistence, and we heard some banter between the defense and the prosecution about defense saying, oh, I'll stipulate to the polygraph right now. He wants that in. Why does he want that in? Because it could very easily create a reasonable doubt so that his client would otherwise be off the hook. But I think that the prosecution is correct, that the defense is going to find a way to backdoor around this interview to highlight it enough, even without its admissibility. And the court seems increasingly being frustrated by both the direct and the cross on this because of a lack of control of the witness.
Oh, yeah. It was interesting to hear the judge say he was feeling the same way that we really were, Marjorie, hearing this cross and direct go so far with no objections. He can't do anything. He can't get involved until someone objects. So let's go in. We have the jury now back in the courtroom. We are still listening to Scott Farris on the stand. He's still under cross by the defense. And let's see how they tiptoe around this incident where the GBI, the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, interviewed him about possible involvement in his father's death.
One follow-up on the issue of the debit card. I'm showing you a message between your mother and your father, and it says, who has the debit card? Correct?
Yes.
Right. And is that from your dad to your mom?
It appears so, yes.
Okay. And then your mom responds back, Scott, why? Correct?
Yes.
Right. And then your dad says, and this is on 5/22/2018, because he's spending a lot. And then your mother asks on, and then 2 fuel charges of $50 each plus other things. Do you remember that at all?
No, I don't remember it because it wasn't on my phone.
Okay. Did your dad, did he ever confront you verbally about that?
No, I do not ever remember a conversation of that.
All right. And, Your Honor, that was defense Scott 92. And also for a housekeeping matter, we're going to move to admit Scott 94, which was the 6 months of phone records that I referred to earlier.
All right, no objection. All right, very good.
I want to turn now, and Judge, would you mind switching back over to the computer? Thank you.
I do mind. I wish I had a way for you to do it down there. And every time you ask me to, I make refer to that, and then maybe someone will watch TV and fix.
Judge, I'm going to stay out of the way of you and the county commissioners.
That would be wise.
So, I'm showing you what has been previously marked as Thrasher 229. And do you remember this picture, this location?
Yes, sir. I do.
All right, tell me about this location.
This was down in the basement, kind of right out in front of the bar area, TV hanging up on the wall, just a lounging area.
Lounging area. And in fact, this is an area, there was a TV right there.
Yes, sir.
This is the area where you said you'd come eat your dinner.
I would eat dinner and sometimes lunch there.
Sometimes, but this was kind of like maybe a place you would hang out in the house, yes?
Yes, when I came over to eat, typically I would go down there to watch TV and eat dinner.
Why down there and why not upstairs at the kitchen bar?
Because I like watching TV when I eat.
Okay. But your dad, he would sit at the kitchen bar and read books, correct?
Yes.
So where would your mom eat?
I really don't know, probably in her bedroom, because a lot of times she wasn't there to eat. If any time I was over there to eat, it was me who fixed dinner for my dad or get us food, and he would eat at the bar and read his book, and I'd go downstairs and eat and watch TV.
But speaking of eating, you guys, y'all go to Cherokee Ranch a lot.
Yes, sir.
And that's not there anymore, right?
No, it's not.
I remember it was up on 20, right? As you're
Yes.
heading out towards Cumming?
Yes.
Okay. And it was there for many years. It was a buffet style
Cafeteria style, yes.
cafeteria. Once upon a time, they had some pretty good crab legs there. Do you ever remember that?
Don't ever remember crab legs.
Might have been before you moved to Cherokee. But anyway, y'all, how often would you and your mother go to Cherokee Ranch?
Quite often. A lot.
Best guess, times a week.
Minimum 3-4 times a week.
Sometimes more.
Yeah.
And your dad, but he would go separately?
On the weekends, we would go and eat lunch there. When he was home, or if he stayed home from the office, we would go there. Almost every Friday night, my dad and I will go there and have catfish.
Catfish on Friday nights.
Yes,
That
sir.
was you and Dad.
Yes.
But otherwise, the majority, you would go with your mother about 3 times a week.
Yes, for lunchtime, yes.
Lunch, not dinner?
No.
Right. just always just kind of regimented, you're going to lunch?
Yeah, because it was so close and it was always a different menu every day.
All right, so back to the house where you would eat right here on this couch.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, going to, and that the exhibit has already been admitted, I believe. I'm going to go to the state's exhibits. This is a conversation with you and your father about the DirecTV guy coming, and that was in early June of 2018, yes?
Yes.
Right. And the appointment appeared to be scheduled, and I believe it was the 12th of June?
I believe it was.
There
I think I
was
saw
the 6th.
her
There was
early,
the
the
6th.
6th.
It was the 6th. So you say you were there, and that is when, going back to the Thrasher photo, you say you saw a firearm in this drawer right here,
Yes, sir.
where the marker is.
Yes, sir. The
That
top
drawer.
drawer of that piece of furniture.
And the gun you saw was a. Let me see if I'm. You tell me. Say it. Tell me one more time. What kind of gun was it?
It appeared to me to be a 38 snub nose. It was in
Okay.
a leather holster.
So snub nose means
It wasn't a long barrel.
wasn't a long barrel, and it was in a what kind of holster?
A leather holster, an old looking leather holster.
All right. And what did the handle of the gun look like?
That I do not remember.
All right. So did the gun look like this?
No, not like that. It was similar of the actual material of the gun, the nickel looking chrome, but it wasn't rusted like that is.
Okay. So it was a newer looking gun.
Yes.
And the handle, was it a dark handle like this?
I presume so, but I don't remember the color of the handle.
Okay. Did you pull it out of the case?
No, I did not.
Did you pick up the case at all?
No, I didn't pick up the gun entirely. I just kind of barely lifted up, and that was all. I never pulled it out because I had the guy in the room with me, and I didn't want to scare him.
Did the gun look like this gun?
No, because that's what is called a blue finish.
How about this gun?
It looked very similar to that right there.
That gun right there? Are you aware that your brother's ex-wife saw a gun in the basement, allegedly, as well, roughly around that time?
No, I did not.
All right. And are you aware that she identified a gun to this jury yesterday that looked like this in the basement?
Okay.
But not in the drawer where you said, in this drawer. Have you ever heard that before?
No.
Now, but you saw a snub-nosed gun.
Yes, I did.
Right. And you said you didn't pull it out of the holster, correct? That's what you just said.
Yes.
Right. So how can you tell that it was a snub-nosed gun if you did not pull it out of the holster?
Because it wasn't a type of holster that covered up the barrel tip, and you could see it was wrapped around the gun, but the bottom section of the gun you could see just a little bit. So it was a clear indication it wasn't a long-barreled gun like the other picture you showed me. It would, to my knowledge, it was definitely a snub nose type looking one.
And you never pulled it out, which, I mean, you're trained with guns, obviously, from being in the military. So you know that you have to act like every firearm is loaded. So you just opened the drawer, picked it up. Did you check to see if the gun was loaded at all, making sure to not point it towards anybody or anything?
Like I said, I never picked it up. And no, I did not check to see if it was loaded because I'd never picked it up. I didn't want to pull it out of the drawer and scare the guy that was in the room with me.
Well, this is an interesting question. I want to ask you this. You just left a loaded gun possibly in a drawer where the kid, because there's kids there all the time, yes?
Periodically. I mean, no kids lived at the house. My nieces were not there every single day of the week because they lived in Maine.
Okay. What about any of the other kids, Cameron or anybody?
I don't know what to say on that. I mean, my entire life I've grown up, there are always guns around, but I was well educated on don't mess with them. So we never had gun cases when I was growing up. So it's just nothing out of the ordinary for me. As long as it wasn't laying out in the clear open, I mean, no, I didn't think to do anything like that.
And you didn't tell anybody about that gun? You didn't talk to your dad about it?
No, because I forgot. I completely kind of forgot about it.
You didn't talk to your mother about it?
No, because she wasn't in town.
Well, she was obviously in town at some point.
I remember at that time that might have been where she was gone at least a minimum of a week.
But see, your excuse for not talking to your mom, you acted like, and we've shown it, you call her, you texted her all the time, you went to lunch with her 3 times a week. So you act like you didn't talk to her, but the reality of the situation is you did. So you could have immediately picked up the phone, and maybe at some point after the Hobby Lobby message, like, hey, you want to go to Hobby Lobby? Why is there a gun in the basement? Why didn't you do that?
I mean, I only saw the gun. I mean, I saw the gun and didn't mess with it, so it was just brief. And I ended up finding a remote, and like I said, I did not want to pull the gun out and scare the guy. And, my dad was at work and she was gone, and I just had, trying to help the guy out with that. I just forgot about it for several weeks.
We're hitting the pause button on this cross-examination that just continues to smolder there inside of the courtroom. Is this defense backing Scott Farris into a corner? Are they lessening the credibility of this witness with the jury? We'll see how it continues and what redirect will be like. Let's get in a break. We'll get you back in for more testimony in the Burn Pile murder trial after this.
Tonight on Closing Arguments, another day of dramatic testimony in the Burn Pile murder trial. We'll bring you all of today's key moments as this shocking case unfolds.
Closing Arguments, tonight at 8/7 Central, only on Court TV.
You saying you can't recall what happened that night. If you were me, would you believe you?
Examination heats up. A son is on the stand in this Georgia case, the Burn Pile murder trial for Melody Farris. Detectives in this case initially believed that Melody's husband, Gary, had suffered some kind of medical issue and had fallen into their burn pile on their property. But then this case turned into a homicide investigation when a bullet was found in Gary's ribs. On the stand right now is Scott Farris. He's the son of the victim and the defendant, and he's under cross-examination by his mother's attorney.
It's always just been a kind of common for our household to always have firearms in it. It didn't trigger me to be freaking out and asking a whole bunch of questions to everybody. We We had several guns in the household.
Where were other guns in access in the main house?
They were scattered throughout. Some were in closets, some, for instance, in the picture, you can see one hanging above the sliding doors down in the basement.
Obviously, that one was not loaded.
No. And they were tucked under beds and in closets. So we just, we didn't have a gun safe.
Do you think that there were a number of guns taken into evidence in this house?
Possibly, if they took shotguns and...
Well, think if you've got them tucked in here and there. I mean, were there lots of guns pulled from this house?
I don't know how many guns were pulled from the house.
I want to talk about your dad's spells. Let's go back and talk about the spells. He would have them how often?
Like I said earlier, it varied. He could have one, maybe two a week, or he could go, he could have one and go, a month or two without having one. They were not on a set schedule.
Now, it's something of note that I think you've noted in a previous interview because, the three of you were always at Purcell Lane at some point, right? I mean, sure, your mom would go see Rusty from time to time. It was not a secret that she had a relationship, correct?
She tried to make it a secret, yes.
But everybody knew about it.
We all had our speculations, yes.
But everybody obviously knew about it. Your dad included.
At some point, I think we all found out that, we all knew, but we all, for a long period of time, we had our speculations.
Did your dad ever talk to you about any, email relationship he was attempting to have with a Joanne Ward Hill?
No.
Would that surprise you? That there's emails between her and him?
Yeah, it would surprise me.
Trying to have a relationship, maybe?
Yeah, because my dad, I've never known of my dad to do anything like that.
Because he didn't talk to you about it?
No, he didn't talk to me about it, so I didn't know anything about it.
But you would agree that, though maybe odd to most, that two people can remain married but have other partners. Yes? An open marriage. Have you heard of these things?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you know anybody like that?
No.
Not saying to name anybody, but...
No, I did not.
Okay. But you've heard of them?
Yes, I've heard of them.
And your mother and your father essentially lived that way, correct? They had different lives.
Not in that way, no.
Different parts of the house.
They slept in different bedrooms because of his sleep habits, but, and that was for the longest portion of my life. But they still used the same bathroom, and their closets were, right next to each other. So they just, slept in different beds because of his sleep habits.
You've been married before, and I believe you said you had a fiance, so you're about to be married again.
Yes, sir.
You would agree that marriage can be complex, very complicated.
Yes, sir.
Right? So, though you might not agree with the way that your parents lived, you could agree with me that two people could live that way and coexist and be perfectly fine.
Yes, but that was not how they were.
So back to the spells. He would have them. And there was some time around April that he went into the hospital. You remember that? April 2018.
Yeah, when we took him to the emergency room?
Yes.
Yes.
And now I want to say this. He would have spells, obviously, when your mother was out of town.
Yes, he would.
Okay. So how could your mother have been poisoning him with some form of poison if she was out of town and he was having these spells?
I never accused her of her trying to poison him.
Well, I'm not saying...
So that I don't, I can't say anything on that behalf, but with the spells, I know he went to the doctor for quite some time and them trying to figure out what was causing these spells.
The defense keeps trying to insinuate things that they want this jury to hang on to, like this being an open marriage where they just live separate lives and we're both okay with that, versus a rocky marriage turned fatal, which is what the prosecution wants to hammer home. We have to get to a break. We'll get you back in for more in the case against Melody Farris. Welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Julia Janae. We are following along this case out of Georgia where a wife and mother is accused of killing her husband, who was a prominent attorney in Atlanta. His body was found on a burn pit pile in their area, in their property. They lived on this sprawling estate, acres worth millions, and she's on trial for murder. The son that her defense has pointed the finger at is on the stand right now, Scott Farris. He's a state witness, so he's testifying against his mother, but right now he's on cross-examination and seems to be on the defense.
Poison.
Okay, that's his opinion.
Okay. All right. Let's move to the birthday weekend of your dad. That weekend, you guys came up. Who all was at the house?
No, my dad. The day that we actually celebrated, it probably would have been my dad, Emily, her husband, Amanda, her boyfriend, Chad. Don't remember if Ella and Addie were there. I don't think they were. Off the top of my head, that's all I, really mean. It was always us who did something like that for my dad's birthday. So.
And you grilled out?
Yes, I smoked chicken for that.
All right. So tell me about you. How much did you smoke? Like what? Like you smoked chicken. There's a lot of parts of a chicken one could smoke.
I believe we bought a couple whole chickens, and I, cut them in half and, arranged them in the smoker that way.
Okay. The reason I asked that, I smoke wings a lot, so that's why I was asking. You just did the whole chicken, cut it in half.
Yeah, cut it in half, cut it in sections, and.
Do you have like an egg, or what kind of smoker were you using?
I just got a one of those electric smokers, like the big upright box. And you just open the little drawer at the bottom, put wood chips in.
So one of the high smokers?
Yes.
Okay. So you did that, and your mom, she cooked the sides?
I believe so, yes.
And what about the cake?
I honestly don't remember if there's cake or not, but she might have baked one or went and bought one if there was cake. I don't remember a cake.
All right. That weekend, was it a good weekend?
Oh, yeah, man.
Nobody got into any arguments?
Not that I remember.
Everything was normal?
Yeah.
Okay. Good family weekend?
Yeah.
Because y'all had a lot of good times up there. I mean, you've said a lot of things about your mother, and you call her Melody now, but she is your mom. But y'all had a lot of great Christmases up there too, didn't you?
Oh, yes, man.
Tell me about the Christmas spread that would go on.
Spread as in like in food?
Food and decorations and just the general scene, because from what I've heard, it was amazing.
Like I said, every Christmas was great. When we, even at the old house in Hampton Hall, she always did the interior decorations. She, without a doubt, does an amazing job at, decorating Christmas trees and everything like that. I was the one who did the outside of the house, put lights on the bushes and, the wreaths on the windows and stuff like that. And then when we moved to the farm, she decorated inside of the house. We didn't decorate the outside of the house, but I decorated the horse barn.
Decorated the what now?
The barn.
Okay, what'd you do for that?
Put lights on the bushes, put icicle lights along the roof line, hang the wreaths. It was actually very pretty. All the neighbors loved it.
Would neighbors come drive through? I mean, I know it was your driveway, but did you let them drive through and look at it?
Well, they were able to see it from the road.
From the road?
Yes, okay. So.
Out on Purcell, not all the way up on Birmingham, certainly, but just down on Purcell?
No, just on Purcell.
Okay. Sounds great. Sounds amazing. And your mother had like trees all over the house, from what I heard. Is that true?
Yeah, we had more than one tree.
Okay. So what I'm getting at, and the jury has seen countless pictures of this house, and it is ornately decorated, and it is beautiful, and that wouldn't make any sense. See, you've made it out that your dad was this. It appears he was certainly controlling your money and your spending, but your mother has furnished this house with the most beautiful things, and you are aware that she had access to the bank account at any time she wanted with $11,000 in it on 7/3. Did you have that kind of bank access?
If the card I had was to that bank account, yes, I guess I would. But once again, I don't know how many bank accounts my dad had.
But because you weren't married, obviously they're a married couple, so she had financial access to the marital assets. When you would take out money, you didn't have the ability to say, I have an available balance of $11,046.85. That didn't just come out when you did that. You didn't see how much they had in the bank.
No, I mean, anytime that I, went to the ATM to get cash, whatever he put into that bank account that I had the card access to, and I saw the total amount, I saw it, and it fluctuated. It was different limits and all.
But he had specifically set aside an account for you, or do you even know?
All I know is at one point he handed me a debit card and said, here, just use this card, and if I need to put more money into the account, I will do so. And that was everything that was told to me about that.
Okay. So, I want to show you some more text messages between you and your mother. We need to switch back over, Judge. I'm sorry. I know, button. A text message between you and your mother on 7/2/2018. So I believe that would have been, and if I could, is the calendar still up there?
It is, it's fine.
You mind if I move your push pins?
Never, sir.
Don't want it to fall out. Okay. So, and there's a calendar right here if you need to see it. On Monday, this text is from Monday of that week, the 2nd, okay?
Okay.
All right. Do you remember being bitten? You got it all there? Being bitten by a rat snake.
Yes, I did.
All right, tell me about that. Where were you? What were you doing that day?
Remember I found the snake. It was, I don't remember the exact location. I want to say it was possibly around the chicken coop up by the barn or something. I don't remember exactly where I found that snake at, but it
got you. It sounds like the snake found you and you didn't find the snake.
Oh yeah, I picked the snake up, and I knew it wasn't a poisonous snake, so I wasn't grabbing. I picked it up.
Okay. And your mom says, what kind is it? And you said a rat snake. I already relocated him, but, it doesn't say but. You say, he got me while trying to get him out, right? And then you sent a picture, and I've got a bigger version of it, of what appears to be Nope.
Not a transparency.
So you got bit by a rat snake, and
Yes.
that's your hand, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. And how many times did the snake bite you? Just once?
Yeah, it was just that one time.
Just that one time. Okay. Can you put that back? Your mother says wash that good and come get iodine. Sound about right? Did you wash it good?
I'm sure I did.
And you go get iodine?
I don't remember going to get iodine.
You just don't remember?
I don't remember putting iodine on it, no, but I'm pretty sure I would have washed it.
Okay. But you told your mother about it?
Yes.
And she said to go get iodine? Yes?
Yes.
And the iodine was in the house, yes?
But at least I didn't have any, and I don't ever remember using any.
Okay. It's been 6 years, yes?
Yes.
And you haven't thought about being bitten by a rat snake in 6 years?
No, I have not.
But you had gotten iodine out of the house before, when you were cut.
I don't remember using iodine until the last time I had a serious cut, and that was a long time ago.
Your Honor, at this time I would admit Scott 87 and Scott 86, which is the text message regarding the rat snake bite and the picture of the rat snake bite.
All right, objection?
No objection.
All right, admitted.
So what did you do the rest of the day on the 2nd? Did you play any golf that day? Monday.
I might have. I don't really remember that day particularly, but there's possibly a good chance I played golf. I know I played golf prior to that weekend. That might have been the day I played at Manor Golf Course with my buddies.
Now here's the question that Bloody Picture is raising for me. Were those blood droplets in the house that were never tested? Could that have been from Scott? And this crime scene isn't where police believe it was, down in the basement. Could it have been closer to this burn pit? I don't know, but watching along with this evidence, we are learning more and more with Scott Farris on the stand. Stay with us after this break. He's about to be asked what was the last time that he saw his father alive.
Sarah Boone is charged with second-degree murder after her boyfriend suffocated inside of a suitcase.
He's in the suitcase still.
There are multiple domestic violence incidents.
You two hitting each other.
Sarah. It's my name. Don't wear it up.
He told you, Sarah, I can't breathe.
George Torres locked inside of a suitcase, begging for help.
I thought he was okay.
The Suitcase Murder Trial. Live coverage starting Monday morning, 8/7 Central on Court TV.
I'm Matt Johnson in North Georgia covering the burn pile murder trial. This is Court TV, your front row seat to justice.
Now to testimony in the case against Melody Farris, happening in Cherokee County, Georgia. The 64-year-old is charged with shooting and killing her husband, Gary, back in July of 2018. Now, investigators say that Gary's skeletal remains were found on that burn pile outside of their home. And it wasn't until a year later that those charges were brought against Melody because a bullet was found inside of those charred remains. The couple's son, Scott, is still on the stand. He's been facing cross-examination for hours by his mother's attorney. Let's pick it up right where we're leaving off.
Within a week period of time before that 4th of July weekend.
Do you remember what your mom was doing that day?
No, I do not.
All right. Let's move on to the 3rd. You remember what you did all day of the 3rd, right?
Yes, sir.
What'd you do?
Got up, took care of the animals, and planted the bushes that we just recently bought at Scottsdale Farms behind the back side of the house. It was like some holly bushes. And then once that was done, it was about lunchtime, and then...
And that's you and your mom did that? Because y'all went to Scottsdale Farms, right?
Yeah, I planted the stuff, and I remember her being on the tractor going around picking up branches and stuff like that, throwing them into the bucket. So yeah, we planted those, and then we decided to go up to Cherokee Ranch to get lunch before I left to go up to the lake house.
What was your dad doing that morning?
I don't remember exactly what he was doing that morning. but he was already at Cherokee Ranch when we got there.
Okay. So he wasn't helping you guys move the, what kind of plant was it?
It was like some holly bushes.
Holly bushes?
Yeah.
Boxwoods or anything like that?
I don't think, no, those weren't boxwoods or some hollies.
Just hollies, okay.
Yeah.
All right, so your dad was already up there. Was that the first time you saw him that day, according to your testimony?
I believe that's right. I think that, as I remember, yes.
Okay. Do you remember seeing him any on the 2nd?
I might have. I don't recall.
How about this? So, I mean, the last time you saw that you've alleged that you saw this, that you saw your dad alive was at Cherokee Ranch. Do you remember the last time you saw your dad before that?
I remember he went with us to Scottsdale Farms to buy those bushes.
Oh, he did?
Yes, he was with us when we went there to buy those bushes.
All right. How about before that? Because you just said you didn't know what he did that morning. But y'all went the day before to Scottsdale Farms?
I believe we did. I'm not 100% sure on which day, but I know he went with us to buy the bushes.
Did you see him any before that?
I'm sure I have. It was the weekend.
Well, okay, that would have been his birthday. So you remember his birthday, maybe Scottsdale Farms, Cherokee Ranch. That was it.
To my memory for right now, yes.
Okay. So you left Cherokee Ranch. Where was your mother going that you knew of?
I have no clue.
Did you know anything about going to the dog groomers up in Ball Ground?
Don't recall that.
Don't recall. Did y'all talk at lunch where, everybody was going?
I don't remember the conversations that we had at that lunch that day.
So your dad was at lunch. Did he talk to you when he was leaving, or did he just get up and walk out?
He was still there when I left.
Okay. But did he talk to you?
I remember saying, "Hey, I'm going up to the lake house. I'll see you later."
That's what you said?
I said to him.
Okay. Did he say anything back to you?
He would have said, "Okay."
But you don't know. Did he say anything to the effect of, "Why are you going to the lake house? We're doing work at the farm today. Why aren't you doing your job?"
No, he never made that comment to me.
Okay. You went, where was that lake house? You referred to, I believe it's in Dawson County.
Yes, sir. It's, I can't give you the name of the road and all. I mean, I traveled there so much. It's up where the outlets are, that section of the lake. You could get to it by, instead of turning left.
Is it near War Hill?
I believe so. I think the park was kind of
War Hill Park?
Kind of across the way of the cove.
Be like where you would put the boat in, or was the lake house like right there?
They had their own dock, so we wouldn't put boats in the water. But their lake house was in a much slimmer cove. I would say if don't remember the name of the park, but there was definitely a park over there, and I would say that's about 200-300 yards away from their dock. So
how many times have you been to their lake house?
Quite a bit.
What'd you do the rest of the day? I mean, you were there from what, about 2 till 10? According to your testimony?
Of the day of the 3rd?
Yes, sir.
Yes, I got there, had lunch, drove up there, and we went out on the lake and came back, and we were just hanging out.
How about this? So, how many beers did you have to drink that day?
I don't remember.
Don't remember?
I probably only had like maybe 1 or 2 beers.
You know, all my DUI clients say that. That's all they ever had was 1 or 2 beers. Did you have any shots?
I don't remember having any.
Okay, but you've had shots up there before, right?
Oh yeah.
Fireball?
Yeah, a couple times.
Typically what y'all do, you have the shots of Fireball?
Fireball, Jack Fire. I mean, it's just what we decided
Crown
to do.
Maple, any of that?
I don't ever Crown. I mean, I know we done Crown Peach before and all, but.
Okay. But y'all would have shots. That wasn't unusual.
Yeah.
Okay, so it could have happened that day, obviously.
It could have, but I don't remember, you know, because it was, you know, July 3rd. We weren't really partying like we would
on the 4th.
On the 4th.
It was a warm-up party.
Yeah, it was just all of us hanging out.
Okay. So, what'd y'all eat?
I honestly don't remember.
Okay. I find this really interesting, Scott. I just want to note this. You remember, you spent all morning in very thorough detail remembering things about how you were terminated from this job, or all these very long ago events. You go into so much detail about all that, but when we're talking about the day that your father was murdered, you don't remember very much at all. Would you agree that that's odd? I'll put it in a question.
No, I don't find it odd. I'm sorry if I don't remember what I ate that day. I mean, I remember the basics of the event. To me at that time, there was nothing wrong.
So, how did you wind up leaving the lake house that night?
Melody called me. It had to been around 10 o'clock or so. And she asked me, when are you going to be home? And I said, I don't know, haven't really decided, but why, what's going on? And she said, well, the horses are out. And I said, well, what do you mean, how the horses get out? And she said, your father left the gate open. And she was like, you need to come home and get the horses up. And I said, okay, well, I'll be on my way in just a few minutes.
How long did it take you to get home?
It's about a 35 to 45 minute drive, roughly. Okay. I wasn't driving right down the road.
So you would have left right about 10, you think?
Whenever she called me, I left, pretty shortly after that. So, like I said, I remember the phone call coming in. It was definitely dark. It could have been anywhere from like 10 to 11, somewhat. But it was around that time frame. I do remember it was dark.
I want to show you some pictures. You would have came home and went to your barn, right?
Yes.
Your barn apartment.
Yes.
Okay. I want to show you some pictures of your barn apartment as it was searched, I believe, on July the 5th. And I kind of want to get a general idea. And this first picture is very dark. But what is it a picture of?
It appears to be the bedroom.
That's your bedroom?
Yes.
Okay. All right, we'll move on to Scott's 2. Still your bedroom?
Yes.
Scott's 3. Tell me what this is.
Again.
We're not scanning it. All right. What is that?
It's a dog kennel, dog crate.
Okay. Let's try turning off the light. Just maybe.
A little bit better.
See, now the color is, there we go. That's much better. Okay, so this is your dog kennel. Next to your bed?
Yeah, it was one of them.
Okay. How many dogs did you have?
For to use a kennel like that, 2.
What kind of dogs were they?
They're English labs.
Okay. Were they on the property during this time period?
Yes, sir.
And this is another part of your room. So this would have been looking back towards the door or just straight away from the bed?
Straight away from the bed.
All right. And this is a dresser drawer, but did you have other things within the drawer?
Yeah, I had clothes and just kind of all mixed matching stuff in like one drawer. So yeah, there's random stuff in there.
I've got one other picture that kind of gives a better idea about the location of the dresser drawer. So that's your door right here. I mean, none of these pictures are very light, but a lot of that's because it's very dark in your...
Yes, it was a darker.
It's a dark place. None of the walls are painted. It's stained. It's kind of like a hunting cabin, yes?
Yeah, it was all live edge wood paneling doors, walls and doors.
And you had some deer on the wall, and you had cowboy hats, yes?
Yes.
And this is your closet. And I'm not trying to pick on you or anything. I mean, I am. You're on cross-examination in a murder trial. But your room's kind of dirty, right?
It's not, I wouldn't say, it's nowhere looking like how my parents' house was.
But I mean, it's kind of dirty. There was dog feces in the floor in that picture. You saw that, yes? I could put it back.
Oh, yes, man. I have a little teacup chihuahua, and I was not there to be able to, to clean up because we weren't allowed to be around.
There's your closet. And you go back. And you still have your military uniform, yes? Was that just more of a keepsake, or did you still wear that?
If that appears to be, my field jacket, and I occasionally wear that time to time.
Okay. Still wear it today?
Every blue moon, yeah. It depends on how cold it gets outside.
Okay. Another picture of your closet. Here's the top part of the closet. Just kind of packed. It's just not very clean in your room is all I'm trying to get at. I'm not trying to pick on your overall cleanliness, but I am a little. And this is your nightstand, or what is that? Just a table?
There's a table with some fabric draped over it.
Just put these over there, please. This is on top of your dresser. Yes?
Yes.
All right, we do have to get to a break, but things are getting closer and closer to the day of Gary Farris's death. Stay with us. You don't want to miss what's coming up with this cross-examination.
Tonight on Closing Arguments, another day of dramatic testimony in the burn pile murder trial. We'll bring you all of today's key moments as this shocking case unfolds.
Closing Arguments, tonight at 8/7 Central, only on Court TV.
Sarah Boone is charged with second-degree murder after her boyfriend suffocated inside of a suitcase.
Sarah, I can't breathe. I thought he was okay.
The Suitcase Murder Trial. Live coverage starting Monday morning, 8/7 Central on Court TV.
The trial for a wife accused of killing her husband and burning his remains is underway this hour in Georgia. Prosecutors say Melody Farris shot and killed her husband, Gary, in 2018. Now, his remains were found in a burn pile on their property. But the defense claims that there are too many unanswered questions to find her guilty, including the fact that the murder weapon is still missing.
On the stand right now is the couple's son, Scott Farris. Now, ammunition matching what was used in this crime was found inside of his living quarters. He's under cross-examination, answering questions about where he lived. Let's go back into court.
Would you use that laptop?
At that time, no. I was mainly using that when I was in the military.
So you had it for a long time?
So my dad bought it for me in 2008 for Christmas because, back then, I knew I was deploying, so I knew I'd be able to communicate with them and do, at the time it was Skype calls and stuff like that. So he bought me the laptop for Christmas to be able to do that.
Okay. So had that laptop been searched, when was the last time you had used that laptop?
I do not remember.
Would you have potentially used it that week?
Nah, I highly doubt it. I really don't remember last time.
Okay. What computer device were you using the most at the time?
My cell phone.
That's what you would search things on?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, is that the passwords for your laptop? Did you give that to the police? I know.
It's going to need the light.
We'll have the light on for this one. All right, how about that? Was that the password for that?
Possibly. I really don't remember the password for that computer. It's been that long since I've used it.
Okay. Where did that come from? Farris 813836.
I honestly do not remember.
Okay. That is a sufficient answer. Put that over there. All right. This is your washroom, yes?
Yeah, bathroom/laundry room.
All right. So that's also in your bathroom?
Yes.
That's your bathroom sink, yes?
Yes.
Okay. You're my expert on that. I'm going to have you do that. There we go. It works better. All right, that's your bathroom sink. Here's your shower. I'm going to try to move as quickly as I can. That's your shower, yes?
Yes.
And what is that?
Looks like to be a sponge or some sort.
Okay. And this is the bottom of your shower, yes?
Yes.
Okay. And the jury, everybody's sitting here wondering, and I've got all these pictures of your shower. But here's what I've noticed, and I want you to tell me if I'm wrong. And I've got pictures, and we're going to just kind of quickly go through a few pictures of your kitchen and the general rest of your apartment. Please just put those over there. But your apartment's kind of a bachelor pad. It's kind of a mess. Yes?
Man, it wasn't picture perfect, but yeah, I wasn't bringing, ladies up there, so I wasn't worried about having it spotless.
Sure. But your shower was. Isn't that odd?
No, I always clean my bathroom.
But your shower was spotless. I mean, compared to you've got feces in the floor and other parts of the house and just very disheveled.
Well,
but your bathroom is very clean. Why is that?
Well, the dog droppings is because I wasn't able to go in and take care of my dog. So, yeah, she was up in the apartment locked up. So I wasn't able to clean up the dog stool.
Is that the door?
You know what, Julie, I just love what this defense attorney does because he kind of you know, when you're a defense attorney and you're looking through the evidence, you got to look at it in a sort of weird way than somebody else. And he's looking at pictures of the bathroom, the rest of his pad, and, you know, he picks out the fact that the bathroom is clean, but everything else is a hot mess.
With that.
Exactly.
And it was a good point.
It was a very, very good point. Let's bring in our guest, former federal prosecutor and president of the West Coast Trial Lawyers Association. Nima Rahmani is with us. Nima, you heard what I just said. I mean, I love the way he's going about it. This is exactly, when you talk about the job of a defense attorney, is to take a look at the evidence and kind of look at it a bit of askew, look at it this way, kind of see things that perhaps other people don't see. And this is a perfect example, and I think he's doing a good job because, again, he doesn't have to prove that this guy did it, just that he had the means, motive, and opportunity, and I think he's well on his way.
Well, that's absolutely right, Michael. Their job is to create reasonable doubt, and this is coming from a prosecutor, but the best defense attorneys, they give a plausible alternate theory of the case. And here you have someone, the son we've talked about, the potential financial motive, right? The victim accused the son of stealing from him, and obviously he lived on the property, he had access. Now, obviously, you know, Eileen prosecution, I think he'd have to be incredibly smart for the son to call law enforcement and say that I think I found my father, and I think the infidelity and the toxicity of the relationship between mom and dad speaks for itself. And clearly she has more of a motive, but you only need to get one juror, right? You don't convince 12 out of 12. And whenever you kind of poke holes in the state's theory, in somewhat of a circumstantial case, obviously, you know, you don't have that murder weapon, at least with respect to the defendant, can't tie her to it. There's the weight of the victim. Obviously, he's a big fellow, 300 pounds. She's small. The son is certainly a lot bigger. So I think what the defense is doing is really kind of telling this other possible story, and it's all going to come around in summation during the closed argument, right, where the bathroom and the dirtiness of the rest of the unit are all going to be facts that they cite to during that closing.
So, Nima, what's interesting to me about the way this cross-examination is going, it doesn't seem like the defense attorney has the answer before he's asking, but then when you get a little bit further into the cross, you realize there's a reason that he asked X, Y, Z, because he's going to bring it up a little later. I've been leaning into that. I'm waiting to hear him ask about these deleted trail videos. We don't have video of what happened, but apparently the son deleted the trail video after or right before what would have happened leading up to his father being on the burn pile. So do you think the defense is actually going to ask that question as to why he did that, or leave it for closing arguments?
There's two styles. You'll see sometimes defense lawyers on court TV, they'll come out, isn't it true that you had a motive to kill your father? And isn't it true that he accused you of stealing? And take this aggressive approach. This defense lawyer tends to be a little bit, has a different style, but again, it still can be very, very effective because you lead the witness down a path where they're saying things that are potentially problematic. Sometimes it makes sense to take that nice guy or nice girl approach, and then, like you said, Julie, just at the end of the case say, well, you know, someone who is innocent, they don't delete evidence, they don't delete video. This is someone who had something to hide. So you can come out and expressly say it during your cross-examination, or you can save it for your closing argument. And I'm guessing, just guessing, that this lawyer is going to do the latter.
Yeah, I have a feeling he'll ask the question. He won't ask why, though. He'll just want him to say it again on cross. You erased that video, didn't you? Okay, and then move on.
And then leave it.
And then move on. I think that's what he might do. All right, Nima, stand by. We are going to take a break right now. When we come back, we'll have more testimony from the burn pile murder trial for Melanie Farris. Her son's still on the stand, facing cross-examination.
Welcome back to Court TV Live. We are following the Georgia murder trial for Melody Farris, a mother, grandmother, and widow. The jury is hearing more about what happened that 4th of July weekend in 2018 and all the events that led up to her husband's remains being discovered on her property in a burn pile.
All right, let's go back in now, right where we left off. The couple's son, Scott, is under cross-examination by the defense.
You're kind of from the outside porch into your apartment?
Yes.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. And here's just the last picture. Here's the general, the aisle. Is this the island in your kitchen?
Yes, it was.
Okay. So, you know, not super clean, kind of just a general bachelor pad. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah.
And so, just for the purposes of the record, all of these pictures for publishing to the jury, I think that gets us to Scott 66. So that would be, what was the first number there, Adrian, on the pictures? No?
Picture was 3.
Scott 3 through Scott 66. No, and you can, Adrian, you can go.
Okay.
I'm going to show you, Scott, some pictures that had been previously marked in this case. You know, we looked at your bedroom, and it is, you had a drawer. I believe it was a dresser drawer. Would this have been your dresser drawer?
It appears so, yes.
Okay, so you got a card from the sheriff's office, a Sergeant Ballard. What is that about? Why did you have a card in there when your room was being searched?
I believe that might have been one of the times that like I said earlier, that I would talk to people in other counties and get an idea of, you know, how stuff was going on about being hired on. So that might have been one of the somebody I ran into and talked to, and he gave me his card. So that's probably why I would have had it.
And Scott, have you noticed here that you have some loose bullets?
Yes.
Okay. What kind of bullets are those?
Without looking at them, I mean, I really don't know the caliber. But it appears those to be the ones that would have came from my grandparents' house. There was a box that my grandfather had some coins, and he had a whole bunch of different stuff. He even had his dog tags in there from when he served, and I think that those are just the drawer that those got put into.
Okay. And just for a closer picture for identification purposes, can you, and I can zoom in, I believe, can you make out what it says on this bullet right there?
Well, the one on the right I can make out, and it's, you know, a 38 special.
Okay. So does that refresh your memory that those were 38 special bullets?
If that's what it says on them, then yes.
Right. And, you know, in this case, there were a number of bullets in your barn apartment, yes? In the barn, yes?
In the barn, yes.
All right. I need a sticker. So I think just to keep things clean, I'm going to call this Scott 201. May I approach this? Do I need gloves, guys? Are we good?
You're fine as far as we're concerned.
Okay.
No.
I'm going to set these right here for you to identify if you wouldn't mind.
Just make a record of you doing what you're doing.
For the record, I have opened the box, partially opened and set in front of Scott Farris this box for identification of the bullets inside. What kind of bullets are those?
It says on the caliper 38 special.
Okay. Oh. Could you please read the brand name?
It says American Eagle Federal.
Okay. Where did these bullets come from?
Where were they found?
Yes, that's what I'm asking you, sir. Where were they in your barn?
Well, any ammunition like that would have been downstairs, possibly either in the feed room or the tool room. And I remembered that I had a friend that came out. There was a group of friends that came out, and one of the persons that came out had some ammunition that they left, and because I remember them, Detective Hayes asking me about that, and I gave what the name of what we called him, his name and what number I had of him, but I haven't been in contact with that guy in a long time.
Before you pull that out, let's do something with the other ones and put them back
No,
in.
absolutely. I was just moving things along while he was talking.
Let's put the other back in the other box back in the bag before you open the other box, and anyway.
Got it.
Trying to.
Okay, go ahead with what you were saying about the bullets.
But yes, there was some ammunition that was left from somebody who came out and did some shooting, and I left them. They were left in the tool shed, so they should have been with some 16 gauge shotgun shells.
I marked it as 201, and I would move to admit these as Scott 201.
No objections.
Next one. So this will be Scott 202.
No objections.
Defense is introducing it. You are going to maintain it.
We will.
All right. You want them to mark the box or the bag or both or what?
Just we keep up with it. We'll mark them all.
I'm putting it on the bag.
Okay.
And then we'll mark the box afterward.
202.
All right, while they mark that evidence, let's squeeze in a break and get you back in for more of this cross-examination while they confront this son with the ammunition that matches the one found at the crime scene.
Tonight on Closing Arguments, another day of dramatic testimony in the burn pile murder trial. We'll bring you all of today's key moments as this shocking case unfolds.
Closing Arguments tonight at 8/7 Central, only on Court TV.
You chose the place. You chose the victim. Back of the head, execution style. I'm Dan.
Welcome back to Court TV Live. Michael Ayala here with Julia Janae. A Georgia jury continues to hear key testimony this afternoon in the burn pile murder trial. Melody Farris stands accused of killing her husband, Gary, and then burning his body in a fire pit in their yard.
Now, the state in this case believes that the motive was money and sex and a new life for this defendant, Melody Farris. Now, her son, Scott Farris, he's on the stand under cross-examination, and her defense has pointed the finger at him as being a possible suspect. Let's go back in and pick it up right where we left off.
I believe it's a 3-8. Would that be a refresh your memory?
Yeah.
To the letter on the.
Oh, very clear there now.
Miracle of modern technology. When I say modern, I mean 12 years ago.
Okay. And if I haven't tendered that, I would ask to admit as Scott 202. Well, sometimes trials are obviously slow and monotonous, but there's something that I do want to talk to you about, and it is previously. No, not yet. I'm going to show you what's previously been admitted in this case as Stewart Defense 1. What is this room?
That is the wash stall. That's where we give our horses baths, and we would also wash the dogs there too.
Okay. Would you say that this is generally the area you are in charge of this area? Yes?
Yeah, this is down in the barn where all the horse stalls are.
Okay. All right, now I want to go back to the night of the 3rd. You talked to your mom. What did your mom say when she called you?
When I was at the lake house?
When you were at the lake house?
She called me and she asked me, when are you going to be home? And I said, I don't know what's going on. And she said, the horses were out. And I asked her how the horses get out. And she said, your father left the gate open. And she said, you need to get home and help get them up. And I said, well, I'll be on my way shortly.
Scott, you did it again. And I noticed this, and do you notice this? You didn't remember anything about your day. Very little conversation-wise. You don't remember what you said to your dad. You don't remember what your dad said to you. You don't remember any of those things, but you remember every word, allegedly, from that conversation with your mom on that night. Word for word. Is that not odd? That's the question.
To me, no. That was, a major event that it was eventually to come of this situation. So.
Nicole, do we have those phone calls from that time period? So you drove back and there was another phone call? Yes?
Yes, when I got back to the property, once I made it up to the barn, I tried calling her.
You tried calling her?
Yes, and she did not answer.
All right. Do you have the picture? Yes, ma'am. I do. Would you agree? Okay, that's fine. We've agreed to take a brief break, Your Honor. I need to get a demonstrative together.
All right. Well,
All right, we'll take this opportunity to bring back in our guest, former federal prosecutor Nima Rahmani. And Nima, just from your comments earlier, I get the sense that you're kind of on board with the state's case. But I gotta say, we just found out that there were 38 caliber bullets in his room. And I gotta say, his explanation of how they got there did not sort of sit right with me. This idea, oh, I had some friends over. One of these guys that I don't really know very well brought over all these bullets, left it in my room. Oh, here's his nickname. I don't know his real name. And here's a number. You can try that and see if you can reach him. Come on, Nima, what do you make of it?
Well, Michael, I agree with you. Obviously, the sons aren't the best witnesses. So I'm hoping this is what the prosecution wants to do. They start off strong. They dirty up Melody. They talk about the divorce, right? Her hiding in the bathroom to avoid the divorce papers. She's having this open relationship, or she's got the boyfriend on the side. Then you put the sons in here because you know that the defense is going to come after them. Again, I thought there was some good testimony maybe yesterday where there was some real emotion referring to the mother by her first name. A little bit of shades of Lori Vallow's son testifying. And if you're the prosecution here, you gotta close strong. I have always said the best evidence in this case is the admission of Melody to her boyfriend that she did this. Now, the boyfriend apparently retracted. There may be an audio, but I think you gotta close strong with that if you're gonna have any chance of winning this case if you're the prosecution. I think that's what they have in their back pocket. We'll see what comes out at trial, but if they don't have that admission, this may be a tough case to prove beyond a reasonable doubt.
Oh, yeah. Rusty is going to be a star witness on the stand. He said that she told him, I see a burn body on the
he's
burn
in the
pile.
burn pile. She says to him, he's in the burn pile. And what he retracted was the idea of when she said it. It's either before the body was found or after. Initially, he said it was a time before, and then he changed it to that she said it after.
Right.
So that's what, I don't know if that quite rises to the level of an admission, but I get what you're saying.
Well, yeah, it'll be a turning point inside of this courtroom. Nima, if you were representing Scott, let's say he retained counsel because he's being interviewed by the GBI, what would you be advising him? He's on the stand bearing everything, no immunity, and the defense is all but pointing the finger at him, saying investigators should have taken him in.
Well, the practical reality, it is difficult for the state to charge the son after they've gone to trial and lost, because, I mean, it's going to be argued that, you know, if he is indeed prosecuted for murder after an acquittal, a very difficult case to do. Basically, the state's going to have to walk away from this. Certainly possible. In theory, practically speaking, it's very unlikely when the state sort of makes a decision, they go in one direction. It's going to be hard after an acquittal to go in another direction. But I agree, a lot of lawyers representing the son would tell him, don't take the stand, plead the fifth, don't testify. That's obviously the safe course of action and textbook legal advice that a lawyer should give.
Sure, but we are hearing it all play out. Nima Rahmani, thank you so much for all of your analysis this hour. We do have to get to a break, but we have more testimony in the burn pile murder trial after this.
Welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Michael Ayala. Court TV is tracking big cases across this country. In Georgia, jury selection continues for a mother accused of killing her 20-month-old son. We're getting ready for Court TV's next live trial, the toddler in a landfill murder trial of Leilani Simon. And witness testimony continues in the burn pile murder trial of Melody Farris. Farris is accused of killing her husband, a prominent Atlanta attorney. Gary Farris was his name, back in July of 2018. The couple had been married for about 38 years or so. Now, earlier today, her son Scott Farris returned to the stand for a second day of testimony. And during that testimony, he claimed that his mother was emotionless when they found their father's remains in a burn pile on their property. Right now, I want to get you back into court where they have come back from that break, and Scott Farris continues his testimony on cross-examination.
I was talking to you before we took a brief break about this phone call at 10:52 p.m. on July the 3rd, but I'm not talking about these phone calls that would have happened earlier in the day. I'm just talking about this one right now.
Okay.
Okay? And that would have been when you were leaving the lake, yes?
That seems about right, yes.
Yes? Okay. So then you call your mother at 11:30 p.m. and cancel the call?
I didn't cancel it. I remember when I got to the farm, I tried calling her and it went to voicemail.
Okay.
So, and then she called me back a short time afterwards.
At 11:34 p.m.
Yes.
And what was the nature of that conversation?
So when she finally called me back, I noticed when I pulled into the farm, the horses were in the pasture. So I pulled up to the barn and tried calling her.
Meaning the horses were put up. They were
on the property. They're in the pastures.
Right. So, but everything, you didn't have to go put the horses up.
No, I did not have to go retrieve them. Like when she called me and said the horses were out, they were not in a pasture. They were either running around the property or they made it off the property.
They could make it off the property?
Yes. They've done it before. They go up the driveway and
head out per cell?
Yes.
Okay. So they're in the pasture.
Yes.
Call mom. All right, go ahead.
So I tried calling her. She didn't answer. I proceeded to go up and I made sure the gates were closed and, everything seemed all right. And she called me back and I said, "What the hell? You said the horses were out."
You said to your mom, "What the hell?"
Yeah, I probably along those lines. I was like, "You said, what the hell? You said the horses were out." I might have not said a hell, but I made the reference and said, "You called me and said the horses were out." And she said, "Well, I was able to get them back up."
Okay.
And I was like, okay. And I noticed the fire burning when I was pulling up to the barn at the burn pile. And I said, so I guess Daddy decided to burn that pile because he did talk about burning it prior to that day. And she said, yes, he did. I was like, okay, well, y'all need to keep an eye on it, make sure it doesn't spread. And she was like, okay, we will. And then I informed her, it's like, hey, I'm waking up very early in the morning. I'm going to play golf with Ted and Phillip, but I'm going to come over and get the debit card and run and get some cash out before I go. And she said, okay, just let me know when you're coming over to the house. And that was all that was said in that conversation. And then I just went into my apartment and eventually fell asleep.
And you did like a check, you mentioned, right?
I checked the gates where the horses were at, make sure they were closed so they wouldn't get out again if they were out. Other animals,
you said earlier you checked on some other things.
Yeah, I made sure the goats were in the actual goat pen and the chicken coop door was closed. So
which chicken coop?
The one there at the barn.
So you didn't go over to the house?
No, I never went over to the house that night.
You mentioned earlier for the first time that you went and checked the chicken coop. You'd never mentioned that in any of your other interviews.
Okay. I checked everything in the vicinity of the barn.
Okay. So, you just kind of did a brief rundown of this 4-minute phone call. That's 4 minutes? That's rather long. It's almost 5 minutes. It's 4 minutes. Do you remember anything else that you talked about in this 4-minute phone call at 11:34 p.m.?
No, I don't remember anything else.
Okay. But you remember what you said earlier?
Yes.
Your Honor, can we switch back over to the Elm? I'm sorry.
Mr. Williams, do you mind if we just stipulate to that as Kuykendall 10 tender?
Oh, yes, I meant we stipulate to the admissibility of Kuykendall 10, which was the picture of the phone that said, contact mother.
Judge, I'll print off a copy and we'll supplement the record with that.
All right. All right, so that's actually the debit card you went to go get the next morning?
That's not a debit card. That's a credit card.
Of your dad's?
Yes, that would have been my father's.
Okay. And the background of that photo, what is that? It looks like it's your bedstand or whatever we would call that? Your nightstand?
I see a golf tee and that fabric looks like the fabric on the table next to my bed.
Right. So that would be your father's credit card next to your bed?
One of them at one point, yes.
one of them at one point. Well, this was the picture of the search. This has been previously admitted in this case of your room on July the 5th/6th. So that would have been in your room, yes?
Yeah.
Okay, how did you get that credit card?
I mean, that was one of the many cards that we used. That might have been the one at one point that I had that my dad got a new credit card, so it was no longer operable. So I guess I never disposed of it.
But it's valid through 0420?
Yes, the date on it.
Right. But he would have kept it in his wallet, yes?
If it was in use, yeah, either I would have had it or he would have had it.
Well, here's my thing, Scott, and I want you to help me figure this out. You are the only individual who has placed wallets in hands of your mother, but you have a credit card of your dad's after his death, and we have seen all of these text messages that your dad always said, give it back. Give it back. Why'd you have that card?
I mean, like I said, I don't remember when that card was used because, sometimes he would get new cards and, when you get a new card, they cancel out the other one or, but, with him asking for the card back, that's, I would have had it and he needed it back for something else.
See, I think this is where you made a mistake, Scott. Don't you?
No.
See, the next morning you went to go get the card from your mother, yes?
I said I was going to come over and get a debit card.
But you knew that you couldn't get the debit card, which you're not supposed to have this card. But you knew that you could not have gotten the credit card or the debit card from your dad because you knew your dad was dead at that point.
No, I did not know my dad was dead at that point.
But you got up that morning and you had to go keep your story together. And you went and played golf. And you went and played with who?
Ted and Philip.
And y'all went over to what golf course?
Hampton Golf Course up on 400.
And you played till about 11:30.
Yeah, right around there.
Would it, now your friend, he came to testify yesterday. He mentioned that you looked tired. Then he said everybody looked tired. So do you think you looked tired that morning when you went to go play golf?
Oh, yeah, we had a very early tee time.
Okay. So then how did you get over to the lake?
I drove the truck from the golf course up to the lake house.
And how long were you at the lake?
Several hours until Ted and I decided to go to another friend of ours' pool party at our apartment complex.
And at this point, I imagine you were very nervous, were you not?
That day, no, I wasn't nervous.
Okay. And you came back that evening at some point, what time?
Back to the farm?
The farm.
Yeah, I came home to, take care of animals. It was still daylight, so if I remember right, it was maybe somewhere around 8 o'clock-ish. It was still daylight outside.
Did you, you saw Ella? Addison, I'm sorry. You saw Addison and Cameron, yes?
Not on the day
of the 4th?
No, I did not.
Because they were there by that time.
I never saw them.
They'd been on the property. You knew that. And you knew they'd been outside. They'd been all over your property. And it's your property. That's the words that you would use to refer it pretty regularly in interviews. Do you remember that?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I mean, I might have said, sometimes when I talk to people, I say, my farm, my family farm. But no, I never once said, this is my farm I bought.
And so you saw Addison and Cameron, and you began to panic a bit, did you not?
No, because I never saw them.
All right. And when did you go to bed that night, or did you?
I did go to bed that night. Once I took care of, all the animals and everything, I went over and walked in and talked to Melody, and
that was on the 4th.
Yes.
All right. So you've put yourself in the house, in her bedroom, and on that day, you told her at that time. What'd you say earlier? Something about things are about to change. Tell me about that.
So I walked in after we're, taking care of all the animals. The goats were out when I pulled in, got them back up. Everybody was squared away. I went over to the house. Didn't see anybody in the kitchen and all. Noticed, the master bedroom TV was on. Walked in there and Melody was laying in the bed with the dogs. And
Did you storm in your mother's room on a regular basis?
Storming? No.
Just walk in what time of night was that?
I mean, this was just right after I got done taking care of everybody, so.
Everybody, you mean?
All the animals.
The animals, okay.
The door was open, and as you walk up, you can see she was just laying there watching TV.
And you said?
And I walked in, I go, why were all the goats out in the pasture? And she said, your father let them out. And I was like, well, okay, why weren't they put back up if nobody's, out there? And she was just like, I don't know. I was like, well, y'all are gonna have to start doing this because at some point I'm gonna be pursuing a job in law enforcement and I'm not gonna be able to be here to do this kind of stuff. So y'all gotta start taking some responsibility of the animals. And she was like, okay.
Did anybody else ever hear this conversation besides you and your mother, allegedly?
No, because she was the only one in the room.
Right. So you told law enforcement this conversation?
Yes, because that was the conversation that happened.
You've told the jury this conversation?
Yes, because that was the conversation that was had.
But that's the time you told. That's the time you decided to tell your mother that I'm pursuing law enforcement and I'm getting out of here, guys.
No, they knew that prior to it. I've always, said it. I've always made comments here every once in a while that y'all got to learn how to take care of these animals.
And I think that's another mistake you made.
I'm going to object. He can't make comments.
I'll rephrase.
103C, he's got to quit making statements in his questions. It's improper.
Do you think that was a mistake? Do you think that was a mistake you made?
No.
Okay. And then you went back to your apartment. That's your testimony that evening.
Yes.
What did you do over at your apartment?
Laid on my couch and watched some TV and kind of relaxed and then went to bed.
Do you remember what time?
No, I did not.
Were you beginning to panic at that point?
No, I was never panicking.
Because no one had looked for your father.
At that time, I was unaware that anything happened to my father. There was no reason to panic for anything.
And the next morning, you woke up and what did you do?
So the next morning, woke up, had my morning coffee, took care of the animals, was planning on going to get my hair cut and was going to meet Ted at the...
Get some golf clubs made.
I was going to get into a simulator, computer simulator and swing clubs, and they would have been able to give me a printout of what type of clubs I needed to get and stuff like that. I wasn't going to purchase golf clubs then, but I was just getting into the simulator. That was the plan.
All right, so did that defense attorney catch him with that credit card on the table? Was that a mistake? I'm not sure it hit the way he wanted it to, but we're going to take a break here. Coming up on Court TV, we're going to hear more testimony in the murder trial against Melody Farris. Cross-examination continues with Scott Farris on the witness stand testifying against his mother. Here on Court TV, your front row seat to justice.
Tonight on Closing Arguments, another day of dramatic testimony in the burn pile murder trial. We'll bring you all of today's key moments as this shocking case unfolds.
Closing Arguments, tonight at 8, 7 Central, only on Court TV.
Sarah Boone is charged with second-degree murder after her boyfriend suffocated inside of a suitcase.
Sarah, I can't breathe. I thought he was okay.
The Suitcase Murder Trial. Live coverage starting Monday morning, 8, 7 Central on Court TV.
This is it.
All right, we'll get back to Scott Farris in just a second. First, I want to bring in our guest joining us this hour, criminal defense attorney, former prosecutor Franz Borghardt, for our Fridays with Franz fun. Great to see you, Franz. Always a pleasure to have you with us on a Friday. I want to get your thoughts on how you think Scott Farris is doing, particularly on cross. And specifically, we just saw a couple of moments actually, where this defense attorney is sort of bringing up this idea that he'd made mistakes. I was surprised he got away with the first time without the prosecutor objecting, but he objected the second time, and he kind of rephrased his question. But your thoughts?
So Scott's never going to come out and say, I killed my daddy, right? Even if he did kill his dad. So I think he's doing a great job with this cross. I just, is it landing the punches he wants? I don't know. It certainly makes more sense that the son physically would be capable of doing this, more so than mom. So I don't know. I think it's effective. He just needs one juror to say, hey, maybe it was Scott.
But I think even more than that, he doesn't necessarily even have to say, hey, it was Scott. They just have to say, you know what? The prosecution told us in their opening statement that the only person who was at the house and could have done this is the mother. But now we're finding out, wait a minute, Scott was there as well. And he had all this other stuff. He had the credit card on there. He had the bullets in his room. You got all these other things going on. And really, I think some shady explanations to various things as well. And they just need to say, you know what? I'm not sure what happened. That's enough.
So it would have been better for them to be more open to maybe Scott was an accomplice. Maybe Scott helped her. Maybe she wasn't alone. When you overshoot your hand, you don't always win the poker game. And this is maybe what we're dealing with. That said, who are these people? I mean, like I know. I'm going to go do a virtual test for the golf club. I mean, none of these characters are being painted in a great light. And it begs the question, who's going to kill their meal ticket? Is it going to be the son or his wife?
Yeah, I can see a scenario, and I agree, this family is a hot mess, but I can see a scenario where either the mother or the son decided, I'm just tired of this guy controlling the purse strings. I just want a little independence, even though I don't deserve it. I'm not on the part of the mother, but certainly on the part of the son, and just decided, I'm going to get him out of the way, maybe had enough. I don't know. Again, with this family, you never know. All right, Franz, I do have to get folks back into court. On the stand still remains, of course, the son, Scott Farris. He's answering questions about what he was doing the night his father went missing. Let's get back in.
Saw Amanda's vehicle up at the house, so I decided to go say hey to her really quick.
And she was there to get Cameron?
I believe so.
Chad's daughter?
Yes.
And you'd met Cameron before, yes?
Yes.
Okay. And that's when you walked up. I mean, surely, were you not terrified that no one had realized yet that your father was missing?
And once again, I had no clue anything happened to my father.
Right. That was not part of your plan, correct?
I never had a plan.
You walked over and saw them sitting there talking. And what did you say?
I walked up and immediately I was asked if I knew where my father was.
Okay. And what did you say?
I said, no, I haven't seen him. What do you mean? They're like, well, we can't find him. And then there's the window into the garage. I was like, well, there's his Mercedes, the RTV sitting right there. He's got to be here.
Right. Where'd you go next? Back to the barn?
No, not at that moment. Eventually, I had to go back up there to try to start searching for him. But we tried to figure out where he could have possibly gone.
And you testified earlier that you went down towards the burn pile, yes?
At one point, I went to go check the trail camera after she asked me to go check it.
You already know where I'm going with this. Is that a picture of you going towards the trail camera?
That would have been, yes.
All right. And that was at 12, roughly, yes?
Timestamp on that, yes.
All right. And is that a picture of you going towards it or backing away from the trail camera?
I would be walking towards it.
All right. So is that the moment when you looked at the trail camera by your testimony?
Yes, I was going to check the SD card on it.
And then you deleted it at that point, right? I think your word was habit, yes?
I checked what pictures were on there, and then, yes, I had to have it. I deleted it. I didn't see anything out of the, normal. I went to go, the sole purpose of me going to look to see if my dad might have walked in front of it to see if he could have walked down that way. That's why she asked me to go check it to see if there was anything on it.
But you deleted it at that time. And
Yeah.
did anybody else ever hear you, did anybody else hear this conversation between you and your mother?
Amanda was there, I know that for sure.
Okay. And at this time, Your Honor, I would ask to admit Scott 73.
No objection.
It's made.
And, this was a picture taken right around that time by the trail camera. Who's that?
That'll be Amanda.
All right. And what does she appear to be doing?
Walking.
All right. And then this would be a picture of who?
That'll be Melanie.
All right. And can you see the time on that?
Yes.
All right. So that's 12:06, and she appears to be doing what?
Walking.
What's up next to her head?
A phone.
All right, so that's at 12:06. Going back to the other picture, and I would ask to admit that is Scott 72 and Scott 71.
All right, any objection?
No objection.
Now go back to this picture, you walking up at 12:12. Right?
Yes.
Okay. So you checked it. And had you forgotten it was there? The trail camera?
No, I knew it was still down there.
Okay. But you would have, that was another mistake you made that day. Wouldn't you agree?
What mistake?
That you deleted the trail camera.
I don't think it's a mistake because once again, anytime I check the trail camera, I always delete it to free up that. But at that time, we still haven't even discovered my dad. So I checked it because to see if maybe my dad walked by to see if he could have been walking down the property edge because we were trying to figure out where he could have been.
At this point, had you told anybody about the missing gun?
No, I have not brought that up.
Okay. You bring that up for the first time after your father is found?
Yes, I brought it up to the detectives.
And so how long after that picture would you say you found your father?
It wouldn't have been much longer because I think the 911 call was, 12:30, somewhere before 1 o'clock, I know. So, we were still in the process of trying to locate him.
And I'm going to play you what has been previous.
All right, so something just got clarified for me. I wasn't sure if he deleted that trail cam before or after he knew his father was missing. He says he did it after he knew that they were looking for their father. That even makes it more dubious to me. I don't know about you. But anyway, we're going to take a short break right now. But when we come back, the defense grills Scott about what he did to his father's skull when they actually did discover his remains in that burn pile. Keep it here on your front row seat to justice.
I'm Matt Johnson in North Georgia covering the burn pile murder trial. This is Court TV, your front row seat to justice.
Welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Michael Ayala, back now to Georgia, where a family is divided. The youngest son of the defendant in the burn pile murder trial continues his second day of testifying against his mother, Melody Farris. Scott Farris returned to the stand, calling his mother by her first name and accusing her of splitting up the family after being named a suspect in his father's murder. The 64-year-old woman is accused of fatally shooting her husband in the basement of their home and then burning his body in a fire pit in their yard. Well, Farris and her husband, prominent Atlanta attorney Gary Farris, had been married for about 38 years, but were actually sleeping in separate parts of the house at the time of Gary's death. Prosecutors say Farris killed her husband for money, and I think a little sex too. She had this boyfriend on the side. However, the defense is putting the blame on the couple's son, Scott, the one on the stand, saying that he was after Gary's money. Let's get you back inside that courtroom now, where the jury is hearing from Scott Farris. He's on cross-examination.
911. And this is your 911 call. Have you ever heard it?
Have I ever heard it?
Is it up, Judge?
My father has come up missing, and we just searched the property as a small farm, and I just found something near the farm that doesn't. He was burning brush. Now there's stuff in the fire that it could be him. I don't know.
Okay. All right, sir. What's Purcell Lane run off of?
It's right off of Birmingham Road.
You said 2155 Purcell Lane. That's correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What is your name?
Scott Farris, Farris.
What's a good callback number for you, Scott?
2667.
How old is you said your father?
Yes, sir.
How old is
he just turned 68 on the 68, yeah.
68, okay.
Now I'm calling you to say that we've been walking around looking for him, and I went where the fire is still smoldering, and I'm ex-military. I was deployed to Iraq. I've seen what burned up bodies look like, and this looks like a body.
Okay. All right, sir. I've got him on the way out there for you. I'm going to send the police and the fire department out there. Just try and leave everything that you can, the way you found it down there, and we've got him on the way out there for you. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Is there anything else I can do for you, sir?
No, that'll be it.
All right, sir. Thank you.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
A member of the fire department, EMT, testified that she was the first on the scene and that you met her at the end of the driveway. Do you remember that?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And you, after you did that, you looked up at Chris and you told him to get those kids the F out of here. I believe that's what he testified to. You just said, get those kids the F out of here. Right?
Yes, along those lines, I told him to get those girls away from there.
And you testified earlier that when you were there, everybody was there, but your mother was right here above you. As y'all were looking.
She was literally right next to me.
Well, I believe you said right here above your shoulder, somewhere in there.
I don't recall.
She was
that.
next to you, okay? All right. She said she was right next to you. What was she doing when you reached down and grabbed your dad's skull?
She was looking at the same thing I was looking at.
You testified to something earlier that caught me off guard. You said you saw blood vessels. Do you remember that?
Yeah, when I vividly remember seeing it, and I mean, what it appeared to be like little lines. I don't know if they're blood vessels or what, but it didn't look like a rock to me. So it made me, I grabbed a very small corner of it and turned it over and saw the teeth and eye sockets and immediately put it back to confirm.
And you went and met the EMT, and you told the EMT over and over again that you knew what burned bodies looked like because you'd been in Iraq. Just what you said on the 911 call.
Yes.
Okay. And did you pass Amanda on the way?
From after I called 911 and started heading up to go meet them, yes, Amanda was standing in the driveway.
Okay. And is that when you told them about the missing revolver in the basement?
I never told them.
You never told them about the missing revolver in the basement?
Amanda, no.
You told Chad, didn't you?
No, I never told Chad.
Okay. And eventually, what appears to be every member of, at some point, I mean, we got a witness list in this case that covered essentially Cherokee County shows up, right? All of Cherokee County law enforcement, EMTs, fire department, everybody shows up on this scene.
Sorry.
And within minutes, you went and spoke to Detective Kuykendall, yes? You remember him? Tall guy, nice guy.
Yeah.
Always would apologize before he had to ask you a question, or anybody a question for that matter. Remember him? Not him, the other guy, tall guy.
Yeah, I mean.
You got in the car with him?
Yes, I got in the vehicle with 3 other people. One person was in the driver, 2 in the back, I believe.
Okay. And is that the first time you decided to tell? That was the moment you chose. You got a hold of Kuykendall and you told him about your immediate suspicions of your mother and that a gun was missing. Do you remember that?
Yes, I told him that I found a gun several weeks prior, and for them to search that house and try to find it, because I didn't try to continue finding it. I only checked that one drawer. So I told them to search the rest of the property.
So when did you search? Oh, sorry, I missed that. When did you say you searched the house looking for that missing gun? Because you were looking for the missing gun before you talked to Kuykendall.
No, when I went down to go check to see if my dad's CPAP machine was there and if his shotgun was there, that's when I remember that gun being in that drawer. So I just went over there to check to see if it was still there. It was not there.
And that was before you told Kuykendall or Amanda?
Yeah, that was before we even...
All right, we're going to hit that pause button right now on this trial. Coming up, we'll hear more details about the bullet that was found lodged in the victim's rib. And the defense raises questions about the lack of blood spatter. All that and more coming up, so keep it here on Court TV.
How could live ammunition have made it onto that set? An A-list actor charged in a fatal shooting on a film set.
Several members of the crew were already upset with the safety conditions.
This was an unspeakable tragedy, but Alec Baldwin committed no crime.
You need to be well aware of what is in this gun.
There is no way for the court to right this wrong.
Victim to Verdict with Ted Rollins. Season finale Sunday night, 8/7 Central.
Only on Court TV.
All right, folks, before we head back to court, let's quickly check in with our guest, criminal defense attorney, former prosecutor Franz Borghardt. And Franz, I can imagine jurors, I mean, we all do, we're all sort of jurors in this type of instance. You know, you have one basket of, reasonable doubt, and you have the other saying, I want to convict. We heard yet another piece of evidence that I think would go directly into the reasonable doubt basket. The fact that on the day that they're looking for the father, he goes and checks the deer cam. You can see what's going on the property, and he decides to erase it. Again, it just doesn't add up to me. It just doesn't.
I think that is a big fact I would call that a fact the size of legends, Michael. I mean, if you think about it, he looks at the camera. Presumably, whoever dragged or carried the body out there would maybe have been on that camera, and his testimony was, I didn't see anything, so I deleted it. Out of habit? Huh? That doesn't make sense. And in fact, that right there to me is the best piece of cross-examination I've seen on this witness. And I got to tell you, Michael, if they vote not guilty, I believe it's because of that one little fact. Because look, at the end of the day, she probably would have had to drag him. I don't see her doing a fireman's carry of a body to the burn pile, right? So however he got to the burn pile, presumably it would have been on the trail camera, right? The prosecution's going to have some heavy lifting to do to show how it is that maybe it wouldn't have been on the camera, and I don't know how they do that at this point.
In my mind, I'm thinking the person who ended up burning that body would have had to have gone around the property and gotten wood or other things to put on that pile. And maybe that you could see him maybe. And the timing of it all would have looked very bad for him if, in fact, he's responsible for this. Quickly, a lot of people commenting on the demeanor of the defendant. She seemed, I think she's been emotional during various times during her son's on the stand. But yet and still, they're talking about her dress and how she's presenting. What do you make of it?
I think they're trying to make her look less entitled, less housewife of Atlanta, and
she
more.
She had pearls on yesterday, Franz. She had pearls on a couple of days.
When your son's calling you by your first name, in the South, that's just not something that's good, right? And so what I think we're seeing is, if in fact he killed her and she's being accused of it, there is a certain look of like frustration and disgust, right? But I'll tell you, the optics of both of these characters in this trial are not wonderful. The only grace and blessing she has is her son, who's being accused of murder as we speak, just admitted to deleting the camera footage. And that is a big fact for her that is going to benefit her, especially in closing.
Yeah, I would have to agree. All right, Franz, stand by. Let's head back to court, folks. Still on cross is the defendant's son, Scott Farris.
You were looking for a missing gun.
Because I remember that gun being there, and I just wanted to make sure if that gun was still there or not.
Okay. So you told Detective Kuykendall, and you love law enforcement, yes? Like you want to be law enforcement.
Yes,
you said you tried even after this to be law enforcement. Yes?
After what?
After your father's death, you tried to get into law enforcement. You testified to that earlier. Yes?
Not after all this happened with my father, because I was told that I wouldn't be able to do anything because I was considered as a suspect in an investigation.
Who told you that?
I don't remember who told me that, but I was just kind of informed on that, and I mean, it's kind of a no-brainer. If I'm going through such a traumatic event and all, I mean, I don't see how a law enforcement will hire me on and when I'm being investigated for this.
That's valid. So you then told Kuykendall, from that moment on, they were looking for a gun. Now, when you went into the basement, did you see any blood?
Yes, I noticed one drop of blood.
Where was that drop of blood?
It was heading towards the stairway, kind of the small narrow point between a wall and the bar.
Was it one of these drops of blood?
It would have been number 4.
You saw that one?
I saw that drop.
Is that where you would come in the house, typically, always? You said that's where you would eat your dinner.
I would come down from the stairs and go sit in the chair over there and eat.
The chair with the ottoman?
Yes.
This chair?
Yes.
Where that bullet is? Do you see that bullet? Have you ever seen that bullet before?
No, I've never seen that bullet before.
That's a bullet. And you've never seen that in the basement?
No.
So you say you saw this droplet of blood. Now I do want to go back and note, you, days before, you were bit by a snake. And it sounds that you enter and exit through the basement door, or the American doors, as Mr. Fogus puts it. Would it not have made sense that you entered through the basement and gone up the stairs to get the iodine there?
I never would have entered through the basement. If I ever came over to the house, I came in through the garage or the front door.
That's a better picture of the bullet. I'm sorry I couldn't show you earlier. Do you know what kind of bullet that is, sir? I know you do.
There's different types of like rounds and how they expand and all, but I've seen something similar to that with it.
What is that part right there?
It appears to me the plastic, because I know I've seen rounds that have like a reddish or green plastic in the bullet, and that could be range from 9mm to 45 caliber and so forth.
Right, and 38s.
Possibly, yes.
Sure. And so, in your experience, what is the purpose of these? This plastic in the bullet, do you know?
That I do not know.
Okay. You know, like hollow points. Do you know the difference between things like that?
Yes, I know the difference between a hollow point and, target practice.
But as you walked up the stairs, you saw no other blood, yes?
No, I saw no other blood.
So, and at the top of the stairs, you saw no blood. In the dining room. I'm trying to find the picture of the dining room. Here we go. Up here, you saw no blood?
No, sir, I did not.
No blood here?
No, sir.
No blood on this chair?
No, sir.
Anywhere on this rug?
No.
Okay. No splatter on the walls?
No.
And you then continued to tell the story of this gun. Who else did you tell the story of the gun to?
That day?
That day.
I only remember talking to, detectives and all.
Okay.
So
here's something interesting that I would like to ask you. So you just found out that your father, well, you just allegedly found out, that your father has been burned to death on a burn pile. Yes?
I knew there was human remains in the burn pile. My father was missing, and it had to be a very good percentage chance that it was going to be him.
But your instant thoughts, you go downstairs, you're looking for an alleged gun that was somewhere in the basement that only you saw. Your father's burned to death. You don't think, well, we should probably look to see what accelerants might have been used. You don't go looking for gasoline, do you? Or anything for that matter. You immediately went to a gun. You went and looked for a gun. Yes?
No, I went to try to figure out where my father was, and when I went to go check for the shotgun, I remembered that gun being there. It just, something wanted me to go make sure that it was still there or not. I didn't know if it was anywhere else in the house. Where I last saw it, that's where I went to go check because of her behavior and everything. It was very fishy about the whole situation.
Right, and that is what you've told everyone for 6 years. But you didn't go look for a missing knife. Yes or no?
No, I didn't.
You didn't. You have a property that is a farm property. And on that farm property, I imagine there's some kind of poisons. Yes?
Sure, there's some kind of chemical that if somebody drank it, it will cause harm.
Okay. But in all of this, and you've testified that you had no idea that there was a bullet in your father until about midnight. And I mean, we've had previous witnesses come into this case and say when they found the bullet in your father's rib. But 10 hours, 12 hours before this bullet is found, you have set them off looking for things. You have been controlling where they go and what they do, have you not?
No, I'm not controlling. I just asked them to search the house to see if they could find that gun because I knew something bad had happened.
That's right, you did. And I know you knew that. But wouldn't it make more sense? And I think that's where you made a mistake again, wouldn't you agree?
Objection, argumentative.
Sustained.
You didn't go looking for anything else that possibly could have caused the death of your father. Correct?
No.
You were interviewed many times in this case. Yes?
Oh, yes.
How many times do you remember?
I've lost count. Over couple of years, there was multiple times.
And you would agree some of them were very lengthy interviews, yes?
Oh, yes.
You would agree that Detective Hayes and Detective Kuykendall believed you. Wouldn't you agree with that? That they liked you. You liked them and they liked you.
I mean, no, they were doing their job and I was trying to help them out on information. And that whatever questions they asked me, I gave, my answers to and all. I mean, I was trying to help find out what happened to my father.
Earlier, you stated that your mother, in the year following this, she was trying to constantly make things up about you. Have you arrested or something to that effect? But isn't it true that you called 911 multiple times on your mother that year? You remember that? I have the recordings if you'd like to listen to them.
I do not remember calling 911 on her. I know there's a couple times I've had to call 911. When one, the trailer came up missing, and two, when Chad started harassing me that day at the driveway.
Do you remember calling 911 saying that your mother had gone through your apartment?
So on my apartment, when I called 911 for that, she actually called me and told me that my apartment was ransacked. Someone broke into my apartment. So I was working for my friend Justin at the nursery at that time. So I ran up to him and was like, dude, I gotta go. Somebody broke into my house. So I went home and my apartment was ransacked. So I called 911.
And there was accusations at one point that you threatened your mother over that year. Do you remember that? 2019. After we've moved on from the 5th.
Threatened my mother?
You
No.
were under investigation by the city of Woodstock because Cherokee could not investigate you, that kind of as a impartial third party. Woodstock investigated that. Yes? Do you remember that?
Yes, I remember having to go out to Woodstock Police Department and talk with them. They said I threatened her, but that never happened.
Okay. So initially, you were not. Michael, can we get it so that I can play the video? The Facebook video. Plug it in right here. These are the Facebook videos, Jeff.
What did you give us?
That we gave you, yes.
No worries.
Do you have any objection?
No. Talking about the guns, the firearms?
Yes. You testified and have made multiple statements that you did not have handguns. Yes? On the property?
I told what handguns were, and you've shown the picture of the one I knew of.
Okay. I'm going to show you some Facebook videos, and Judge, we will have to mark these, I think, later following this as far as Scott exhibit, but I'm
just simply whatever number they are.
Okay.
John, AR-15.
I don't think I hit any of those targets.
Well, I think we established in that video Jeff's not a very good shot. Who is Jeff?
He is one of my friends that I've known for quite a while.
Okay. I think there's another. I'll pause right there. Where is this on your property?
That would have been down in the very bottom right-hand corner of the property. So if you...
Let's see if I can pull up where was the aerial, Jeff? The board? I don't know that that's going to show.
I mean, I can pinpoint on the area.
Right, I would like to do that. Michael, could you help me?
It's under all the aerials, Michael.
Yeah.
Second floor and everything.
How about this? So where?
Okay, move the mouse, go to the dam on the pond.
Okay.
Keep going up towards that corner. No, the other way. So yeah, you would have to gain access there. And then if you go left, keep going left.
Along this fence line?
Yes, sir. That's the edge of the property. So eventually right.
But doesn't it turn and come back up this way?
Yeah, because so down right in there is where the two property lines meet.
So up in this corner somewhere?
Yeah, so it's going downhill into a creek, and then it starts going back uphill. So you have trees and everything, no houses back there.
Now, this is you, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Same day?
Yes.
This is your Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
They're showing you another video. So those videos, the second one you would say that you were just using, what would that have been, an AR-15?
Yes.
And the first video you had an AR-15 and what appeared to be a handgun. What type of gun was that?
That was Jeff's gun. I really want to say that was a 9mm. I'm not 100% certain on what caliber it was, but both those guns were his.
Okay. And those would be, that would be a form of shooting, tactical shooting.
Yeah, I mean, the way I was doing it, yeah, that had a lot of, my training on how I would shoot. Just the terrain that we had and what I was wearing, I wouldn't call it very tactical, but yes.
You were interviewed with Scott in one interview, or with Chris, I'm sorry, Scott. It's been a long day, as you know. You were interviewed with Chris together. Do you remember that at one point?
I believe so. There was a lot of interviews, so.
And do you remember in that interview that after about 3.5 hours, you concluded, stopped the interview? You brought it to an end. You said you weren't taking this anymore. Do you remember that?
I don't remember saying those exact words and all, but.
That was the general idea?
Yeah, I remember one day I was there all day long and I had nothing to eat and I was exhausted and, I mean, I said everything that I could think of, I mean.
Did you consider yourself a suspect at that point?
If I consider myself?
Did you consider yourself a suspect at that point?
I didn't think myself as a suspect, but they, treated me like a suspect, and I fully understand why they would.
And it was a different investigator. You'd always dealt with Detective Hayes.
Yes, I've dealt with a lot of different people during this whole situation.
Would you say that the most person you've dealt with is Detective Hayes?
Majority of them, yes, would be with him.
And Detective Hayes, the first year in 2018, seemed to be going with everything you had to say, yes?
I mean, I gave him what information I knew, yes.
Didn't ask you about your guns and your bullets.
I mean, he asked, I think I remember him asking me about what type of guns I had and everything like that.
And I'll get to talk to Detective Hayes about that a number of days. But you remember in 2019, well over a year after July the 3rd, 2018, you remember then, that's when they started to really look at you, yes? You remember that. Talking about the bullets. That's when they went back out to the property and combed it for your bullets, yes?
They asked me if I ever did any shooting, and I said yes. I always had friends over, and they asked, well, can you show us where that area was? I said, yeah, babe, more than happy to. So I took them to the area that we always did shooting. And I think they might have asked if they've ever seen Melody down there, and I, told them I don't ever really remember her being down there. But yeah, I told them where we used to go shooting at. And they asked if we ever did it anywhere else. And I said, no, that was majority of it right there. It was the safest place to shoot.
Okay. And then, ultimately, the GBI did interview you months after that Hayes interview. Totally separate and aside from the Cherokee County Sheriff's Office. You remember?
Yeah, I remember there's some point, like I said, there was a lot of different people who interviewed me.
You're aware that a .357 can shoot a .38? I said that right. .357 can shoot a .38.
No, I'm not aware of
You're not aware of that. Multiple times you've testified made statements through the year. You didn't have revolvers, but you did have a revolver once upon a time, did you not?
I had my grandfather's revolver at one point. It was a .357 revolver.
Right.
Long barrel, you know. Yes, I took it with me down to Fort Benning because I did deer hunting and hog hunting down there, and I wanted to use it to hunt hogs with.
And I believe you told Detective Hayes in 2020 that it was stolen from you when you were down in Columbus, when you lived in Columbus.
Yes.
Would it shock you, and that would have been about 2012, but would it shock you that my office, and I believe the state has agreed to admit these, that my office conducted an open records request of the Muskogee County Sheriff's Office, as well as the Columbus Police Department. And so at this time, I would ask to admit Scott 100, Scott 99, Scott 98, Scott 97.
No, Judge, no.
Can we switch over to the Elmo one last time, Judge? So you told Detective Hayes that you had a .357 stolen, and he was asking you all this information, and I don't believe it was followed up on, but I did it. And here's what I found. After we requested from both law enforcement institutions down there, Columbus Police, from a date range of 2008 to 2015, specifically we are looking into an incident where a .357 Magnum or other firearms belonging to Scott Walker Farris were reported stolen. We are requesting copies of any incident reports, 911 recordings, transcripts, CAD reports, any and all records is what we asked for. I signed it at some point. We sent it off back in September, and we received an email within days that there are no records in our system for Scott Walker Farris. Gave him your date of birth at all. So we doubled up and we looked with Muskogee County. And would you believe they found no records either? And they told us to contact the Columbus Police Department. So I'm going to ask you this right now, Scott Farris. That gun was never stolen, was it?
Yes,
you
it
made
was.
no report, did you?
No, I called so we came back from the field. I lived with two other guys. We came back from the field and our house was ransacked, and we called 911. And at the time he said, have you noticed anything missing? I was like, I don't know. We have to go through the house. And once I was able to, put my house back together, he gave us his number and all, and he said, if you find anything missing, let me know. And so I called him and told him that I had a 9mm and that .357. I don't have any VINs on them or anything, but I can't find them now. And then my roommates told him about some of their stuff that was taken as well too.
All right, so it is possible. And I did just check on Google. You can, in fact, shoot 38 special rounds on a .357. And what kind of bullets were found in his place? 38 special. All right, coming up on Court TV, Scott Farris wraps up his testimony before court ends for the day in the Burn Pile murder trial. So keep it here on your front row seat to justice.
One of the most successful true crime TV shows ever.
This is crazy.
Now has a new home on America's original true crime obsession, 48 Hours, on Court TV. Coming up next on Court TV.
Tonight on Closing Arguments, another day of dramatic testimony in the burn pile murder trial. We'll bring you all of today's key moments as this shocking case unfolds.
Closing Arguments, tonight at 8/7 Central, only on Court TV.
For the bulk of the afternoon, we've been listening to the testimony of Scott Farris. Well, up to the last part of it. Remember, he's the son of the defendant in the burn pile murder trial. So let's head back into court as he wraps up his testimony for the day.
But there's obviously no record of it. And you know a .357 can shoot a .38 special. And that gun was not stolen, was it, Scott?
I do not know that a .357 can shoot a .38. I don't see how that's even possible. And I did file a report. I called the police when our house was ransacked, and they came out and, you know, did their part. I have people who witnessed that were a part of it.
And Scott, you know that there was no gun in that basement in your mom's house that she would ever allow to be around those children. You know that. Yes?
I saw a gun down there.
But in fact, you did still have a .357. Yes? That gun that was clearly not stolen, there's no record of that. You lied to Detective Hayes. You're lying now to that jury.
Objection, Your Honor. This is purely argumentative. This is improper, counsel.
I withdraw it.
No, Judge, I object. It's purely improper.
I was going to let him answer it.
Well, then I'll answer the question.
And what was the question again?
How about I do this? You used that .357 to shoot your father, did you not?
No, because I never shot my father.
And that .357, I don't know where it is, but you went to Lake Lanier the day after you shot your father, did you not? You went to the lake, yes?
Yes, we went to the lake after playing golf.
Did you throw that .357 into Lake Lanier after you shot your father?
No, because I have not seen that .357 since 2012, I think it was, when my house was broken into.
And did your father, in fact, confront you that evening about being out again? Because through the text messages, we clearly have seen that you're constantly hiding from your father to go play golf, to go hang with your friends and not do your job. And he was always controlling your money, yes?
No, he wasn't controlling my money.
Did you shoot him at the barn, Scott?
I never shot my father.
Did you take that bullet and put that bullet in the floor in your mother's house?
I never knew of that bullet.
You would agree with me that it's absurd that there is no blood of any serious measure of your father's in that house consistent with being shot in the house. Yes?
I haven't seen the evidence amount of, the only picture of blood that I've seen is what you've come across the screen. I haven't been told about how much blood was found in the house. All I know is the one drop of blood that I noticed, but I don't know.
You knew how to work a fire, yes? You worked fires with your dad. You put one out, remember? You went in there and you stuck your hand through the wall and you were trying to put the fire out in the wall years before. You remember that, yes?
Yes.
Were the hairs on your hands singed? Can you hold your hands up? Were they singed at all from that evening?
I don't remember. On the evening of what? You talking about the fire that I was trying to put out in the house?
Yes, that one.
So during the daytime when fire department came and I saved my parents' house from fully burning down, I don't remember the hair on my hands being singed.
How about on July the 3rd?
There's no way I could do that because I was never around a fire on July the 3rd.
Did anybody from law enforcement ask you if it was? Your hands were singed?
No, I don't ever remember if
They only ever did an accelerant test, yes?
they did some kind of test. They swabbed my hands there in the driveway of the house. I do remember that. I don't know what it was for, but they asked if they could swab my hands, and I was like, yes.
You are how tall?
6'6", I know.
Could you stand for the jury, please?
Sure.
And how much do you weigh?
Currently about 280.
You can have a seat. You understand that you are the only person on the property who could have physically pulled off what the district attorney's office and the state has alleged that your mother did. You're aware you're the only person. You even said so in your own interviews that she would have had to have had help. Didn't you say that?
There's a possibility, a chance of that, you know, she could have needed help, but, you know, yes, it just came across me many a times because of my size and the size of my father. Yes, I was going to be looked at like that, but I had nothing to do with it. But I've also seen, you know, you always see people on the news being able to do stuff under, you know, how would you say it, when their adrenaline's rushing and stuff. They're able to do things that they thought they'll never be able to do.
Well, Scott, you would agree. I'm asking, this is my question, and I'll sit down. It's your proposal to this jury that something that's strange and odd on the news about these stories of adrenaline and picking up cars and all these very odd things, that would be somehow how your mother pulled off moving a 300-pound man in the house instead of the very obvious solution, which is that the one person on the property who could move him did move him, and that's you. That's all I have.
Just my redirect. I want to be fast.
All right, we'll see. Go ahead.
And Mr. Wade, for the record, these videos that we're going to mark, do you mind if I just say the date on them? Is that okay?
Yes, please. Thank you.
These are in August, I believe, of 2015. Is that right, Scott? Judge, if we can switch. You're fine. I'm not going to be here long. You're fine. I'll look at those real quick. Farris 12 through 15, I think. Scott, what you did.
Yeah, no objection.
Judge, at this time, I'm intending into evidence S. Farris 12 through S. Farris 15.
Any objection?
I don't think so. Any objections?
Mr. Weaver, any objections?
No. All right. You're good.
Scott, this is S. Farris 12. These are text messages between yourself and the defendant. Do you see these on the screen here?
Yes, sir, I do.
And then we're going down March 12, 2018 through March, beginning at 9:47 a.m. and going through 12:57 p.m. First one says, bring Hex key set to take a shower park, going to Ferguson's. You see that?
Yes, sir.
Next one at about 2 minutes later says, it's incoming to your phone, says, then get a job and move off my property. Do you see that?
Yes, sir.
Next one says, I have had enough of this place. I promise you I'm at the end of my road with you and Gary. Do you see those?
Yes.
S. Farris 13, this is between yourself and your mother on your phone, and May 13, 2018, and looks like it's incoming from your mother and says Gary ? You see that?
Yes.
And then on down and says hello. Then the next one says, I don't know where he is. Have not seen him all day. You see that one?
Yes, sir.
And then you have incoming. You might make sure he's alive. You see that one?
Yes, sir.
Now, at the bottom, on May 13, 2018, 549 outgoing. It looks like you sent one. He is back and he is in his office. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
All right, the defendant's own words still coming back to haunt her. Remember, we still have to hear from her boyfriend, Rusty, and she made some admissions to him as well that could be important in this case. So good day for the defense, but a long way to go.